Welcome to the Institute of Self-Worth, a curriculum for life designed to teach principles of self-worth. Let's join Pastor Vic Porter as he shares on the power of imagination.
Today we're going to begin again back in Hebrews chapter 10, and we're going to look at verses 14. If you don't mind, again, go back over to verse number 14. Chapter 10 of Hebrews. It says, "For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified." Now we've already discussed this, but there's a part of you that's been perfected. It's not your soul, which is your mind, your will, and your emotions, your thoughts and your feelings, and it's not your body. So it has to be your recreated spirit. That part of you is perfected. Your soulish realm is not perfected. It has to be renewed to the truth of the Word. Now, here's something of interest to you. Truth is found in two places. It's found in the Word, and it's found in your spirit. And the problem is that this part of you, your soulish realm, doesn't always know the truth. And so whenever you read the Word or you gain revelation knowledge of the truth of the Word, then your spirit and your head or your soulish realm come together, and it's called revelation knowledge. And you know. You see and you see and you see and you see, and then one day you see. Or you hear and you hear and you hear, and then one day you hear. That's the difference. Now, the last session we left off with 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse number 18. I'd like to go back there. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse number 18. He says, "While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are seen." Let's say it this way. "While we look not at the things which you see, but you look at the things that you can't see." Now, how do you do that? Paul said, are you still looking at things based on the outward appearance? If you're looking at things based on the outward appearance, then those things on the outside are controlling those things, that part of you on the inside. It's all a picture. It's all an imagination. He says, "But we look not at the things which are seen with these eyes, but we look at the things which are not seen." And the only way you can look at the things that are not seen are with these eyes. "For the things that you see with these eyes are temporal, or they are subject to change. But the things that you see with these eyes are not going to change. They're eternal." Now watch. Everything that you see with these eyes that are subject to change or temporal only represent a truth. They do not represent the truth. They only represent a truth. And he says here, and I'm going to give you in Vic's translation, if you will focus on what you see with these eyes instead of what you see with these eyes, you will literally create, change, and conquer and cause the things that you see with these eyes to change to become what you see with these eyes. This doesn't say that you have to do anything other than to get an imagination, a picture of the truth of the Word that's on the inside of you. Many people call what they see out here the truth. What you see out here, if it's contrary to the Word, is only a truth. It's not the truth. And all of this stuff, your checkbook, your physical flesh and blood body, your marriage, your situation that you find yourself in that's contrary to the Word of God, all of that is subject to change when you look and see the truth, and you have to see that on the inside of you before it will ever take effect on the outside of you. Does that make sense to you? What you see with your eyes closed is extremely important. It's one of the most important lessons you'll ever learn in your life. Now let's go back over to Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10. I love this stuff. I tell you, this stuff changed my whole life. I've been in the ministry for 33 years, and the first 15 years I had no idea what was going on. I was pastoring folks, and I was struggling with issues and wanting to know about some things. And finally, whenever I got a hold of some truth, it began to change the way that I saw people, the way that I pastored, the way that I see things, the way that I see myself, and it began to change on the inside of me. Now, my goal in life now is to take this that I have seen and make it so simple that you can see it. I want to take this and put it inside of you so that you can see clearly, that there's no fog anywhere. Back over in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse number 38 and 39. Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. We have butchered that verse up and made it say things that it's not saying. We've said that if you quit operating in faith, quit doing the right thing, that God does not like you anymore, and that is not what that says. But the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul, referring to God, shall have no pleasure in him. It's not that God is telling you that he has no pleasure in you, that he doesn't like you. He's simply saying that when you can't see what God sees, then what God sees will not bring pleasure to your life. God sees you differently than you see yourself. And you see yourself basically based on what everybody else has said about you for years. If you're an inmate and in a prison somewhere, let me tell you something. There's been people that saying that's all they see you as. I'm telling you that until you see yourself differently, that's all you'll ever be. You take a preacher that stands behind the pulpit. If they do not see themselves as having success in their Christian life, in their ministry life, they'll never have success in their ministry life. John Doe Christian, if he never sees himself as having anything of economic value, he'll never have anything of economic value. But until you begin to see yourself differently and the way that God sees you, that's the only way that you're going to create change out here. This stuff out here and what people say about you or think about you has nothing to do with anything unless you let it. He says, but if any man draw back, where do you draw back? We made this statement the other day, and we'll say it again. We're going to make 2 or 3 statements along this line. If your spirit is perfected, and it is, Hebrews 10:14, then none of this stuff out here will cause it to fear and draw back. Because see, your spirit being perfect doesn't fear. Your spirit being perfect does not wonder, I wonder whether we will make it or not. It knows we will. Do you know why? Because it has the life of God on the inside of it. And it has the truth giving itself out, trying to get it into your soulish realm. He said, but if any man draw back, the only place that you draw back is in your soulish realm. And the only reason that you and I draw back in our soulish realm is because we're still looking at things out here instead of things in here. And this out here has become bigger than this in here. And your spirit's not drawing back, but your soulish man is. Verse number 39, the writer of Hebrews says this, I believe that he's prophesying, but you are not of them that draw back in your soulish realm unto perdition. Underline the word perdition. That word means destruction. But you are not of them that draw back unto your own destruction, but you are of them that believe to the saving of the soul, or to the salvation of the soulish realm. Notice he's not saying to the saving of the spirit, but to the saving of the soul. In the first part of chapter 10, he's talking about the spirit. In the last part of chapter 10, he's talking about the soul. He didn't change subjects. It's all, he changed the way he talked about it, but it's all one thought. There's a part of you that's perfected, and there's a part of you that's not. And God says, that part of you that isn't, he said, if you will renew that to the truth of the word, he said, it will be to you as to the believing to the saving of the soul. And whenever you begin to renew your mind to the truth, that this part of you knows what this part of you does and what this part of you does, then when you face an obstacle, when you face a circumstance or a situation out here, you won't draw back and say, we can't do it. You will go forward and say, it doesn't matter what this looks like out here. I know what it looks like on the inside of me. And that's the part that we're going to take and go forward with. And he says, but we are not of them that draw back unto our own destruction. Every time that you and I draw back in our soulish realm, we draw back to our own destruction. The word perdition means destruction. You can say this, somebody did something out there that caused me to draw back to my own destruction. Somebody said something, there's a circumstance out there that I just couldn't face. Well, I'm here to tell you that there's not a circumstance out there that you can't win over, not one. Because of the life of God that's on the inside of you. Your head may not know that yet, but your spirit man knows it. And when your head knows what your spirit knows, there's nothing that will stop you. But whenever the enemy creates a diversion through sight, through pictures, then you'll draw back here, and the Bible says that you're drawing back to your own destruction. The writer of Hebrews, I believe, is prophesying, and he says, but you're not going to do that. Now listen to me carefully. I believe, not only myself, but you too, that you and I will not draw back to our own destruction because we see things out here that's contrary to what we see here and here. Whenever we see these things out here that are contrary, this that's on the inside of us rises up in greater fashion and challenges these things, the circumstances of life, to change and become temporal and to become the truth instead of a truth. Look what he says. But we're not of them that draw back unto our own perdition or destruction, but we are of them that believe to the renewing of the mind, to the saving of the soul.
Thank you for joining Pastor Vic Porter today. For more information on the Institute of Self-Worth, please visit our website at www.instituteofselfworth.com. May God's richest blessings be yours.